Welcome to Hidden Coin Value It. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? One of them could be hiding $80 million in plain sight. Most people glance at their quarters, see George Washington's familiar face, and move on without a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular quarter from 1974 could literally transform your entire life? This isn't just another coin sitting in your pocket or rolling around in your car's cup holder. This is a piece of American history that collectors across the globe would empty their bank accounts to own. The 1974 quarter dollar might look like ordinary pocket change, something you'd use to buy a candy bar or feed a parking meter, but certain versions of this coin have sold for astronomical amounts that would make your head spin. We're talking about a staggering $80 million for a single quarter. Yes, you heard that right, $80 million. Imagine finding that in your grandmother's old cookie jar or in a roll of quarters from your local bank. The story of how this unassuming piece of metal became worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes is absolutely fascinating. And before we dive deep into every detail, I need you to stick with me until the very end, because after we uncover all the secrets of this 1974 treasure, I'm going to reveal another quarter from 1990 that's valued at an even more mind-blowing $90 million, and trust me, the story behind that one will leave you speechless. But first, let's focus on why this 1974 quarter has become the holy grail for coin collectors worldwide. The year 1974 was a pivotal time in American history. The nation was still reeling from the Watergate scandal. Richard Nixon had just resigned from the presidency in August of that year. Gerald Ford had taken office, and the economy was struggling with inflation and an energy crisis that had Americans waiting in long lines at gas stations. The United States Mint was working overtime producing coins to meet the demands of everyday commerce, and in their haste to keep up with production quotas, something extraordinary happened, something that would create one of the most valuable era coins ever to exist. The Philadelphia Mint, Denver Mint, and San Francisco Mint were all striking quarters that year, each leaving their distinctive mint marks, or in Philadelphia's case, no mint mark at all. But here's where things get absolutely incredible. During the production process at one of these facilities, a catastrophic error occurred that would go unnoticed for years. You see, coin dies, the metal stamps that press designs onto blank coin planchets, are supposed to be perfectly aligned and properly spaced, but in 1974, something went terribly wrong with at least one die at the mint. This created what numismatists call a dramatic double die error, where the entire design was struck twice with a significant misalignment, causing a ghostly doubling effect on both the obverse and reverse of the coin. But that's not even the most exciting part. Some 1974 quarters were struck on the wrong planchette entirely, meaning that instead of being made on a proper quarter blank, they were accidentally struck on dime planchets or even on planchets intended for foreign coins that were being produced at the same facility under contract. Imagine a quarter that's the size of a dime, or a quarter that's made of a completely different metal composition than it should be. These are the kinds of errors that make collectors lose their minds with excitement. The rarity factor is absolutely off the charts because the Mint's quality control inspectors were supposed to catch these errors before the coins ever left the facility, and they did catch most of them, destroying the flawed coins and melting them down. But as with any human system, a handful slipped through the cracks, perhaps just a dozen, perhaps only 5 or 6, maybe even fewer. Nobody knows for certain exactly how many exist out there in the world today. This mystery, this uncertainty about the population, drives the value even higher because collectors are competing for something that might be genuinely unique. Now let's talk about what makes a 1974 quarter worth $80 million specifically, because not every 1974 quarter is going to make you rich. In fact, Most are worth exactly 25 cents. The coins that command these astronomical prices possess a combination of extreme rarity and multiple compounding errors. We're talking about a coin that might have a dramatic double die on the obverse, showing Washington's profile with a clear doubling of his features, the date, and the word liberty, combined with being struck on an experimental planchet that was never supposed to be used for quarters, and also showing signs of a rotated die strike where the reverse is turned 180 degrees from its normal orientation. When you combine 3 or 4 major errors in a single coin, you've essentially created a numismatic unicorn, something so rare that major museums would want it for their collections, something that wealthy collectors would engage in bidding wars to acquire. The authentication process for such a coin is incredibly rigorous. You can't just claim you have an $80 million quarter and expect anyone to believe you without extensive professional verification. The coin would need to be submitted to either PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, the two most respected third-party grading companies in the world, where it would undergo detailed examination under high-powered microscopes, weight verification, metal composition analysis through non-destructive spectrometry, and comparison against known genuine examples. The grading would also assess the coin's condition, using the Sheldon scale that runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect and uncirculated. A coin this rare would command maximum value only if it grades MS67 or higher, meaning it would need to be in virtually perfect condition with original mint luster, no signs of wear, and only the most minimal contact marks that are acceptable for the grade. Think about the journey such a coin must have taken. It was struck in 1974. Possibly noticed by a mint employee who pocketed it as a curiosity, or maybe it slipped into a coin bag unnoticed and made its way to a bank. From there it could have been given out as change, spent at a store, deposited back into another bank, and circulated for months or even years before someone with a keen eye recognized that something wasn't quite right about it. That moment of discovery must have been absolutely electrifying. Imagine being the person who looked down at their change and realized they were holding a fortune in their hand. Stories like this actually happen more often than you might think. There was a case in the early 2000s where a man found a rare 1974 error quarter mixed in with regular coins he received from a vending machine change dispenser. He initially thought it looked odd and kept it aside. Years later, when cleaning out his desk drawer, he decided to have it evaluated and discovered it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time. And as more collectors learned about the existence of these error varieties, the value skyrocketed into the millions. Auction records for elite rare coins have been shattering records consistently over the past 2 decades. We've seen pennies sell for over $1 million. Nickels fetch millions at auction, and certain quarters from various years commanding prices that would have seemed impossible just a generation ago. The $80 million valuation for the finest known 1974 error quarter represents the absolute peak of what a private collector or institution might pay to own a piece of numismatic history that can never be replicated. It's not just about the metal, it's about owning a tangible piece of American history, a conversation starter, a legacy item that can be passed down through generations, and yes, a phenomenal investment that has appreciated far beyond what stocks, bonds, or real estate could ever achieve. The psychological appeal of rare coins taps into our deepest desires for treasure hunting and discovery. It's the same thrill that drives people to metal detect on beaches, to explore attics for hidden valuables, to watch shows about storage unit auctions and antique discoveries. Every single day, people are handling coins without really looking at them, and somewhere out there, another 1974 error quarter might be waiting to be found, sitting in a forgotten coin collection, mixed into a jar of change in someone's closet, or about to be discovered by someone who decided to actually examine their coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. If you're now frantically running to check your own coin collection, that's exactly the right instinct. Start by examining every 1974 quarter you can find. Look for any doubling in the lettering or Washington's portrait. Check the edge to see if the coin feels lighter or heavier than normal. Compare its size against other quarters to see if it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. And if you spot anything that looks even slightly unusual, don't clean the coin because cleaning destroys value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer for preliminary evaluation before potentially submitting it for professional grading. The world of rare coins is filled with these incredible stories of life-changing discoveries, and the 1974 quarter is one of the most sought-after modern treasures in existence. But here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. If you thought an $80 million quarter was the ultimate find, wait until you hear about what's coming next, because the 1990 P quarter that I'm about to reveal has a story that's even more incredible, with errors so mind-boggling and a value so astronomical at $90 million that it makes this 1974 coin look like pocket change in comparison. And the best part is that the 1990s P is actually more likely to still be in circulation because it's from a more recent year, meaning your chances of finding one are theoretically better than finding the 1974. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because what I'm about to share next could literally be the information that changes your financial future forever. Next, 1990 P quarter dollar. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret. When you think about the coins jangling in your pocket right now, the 1990 P quarter probably seems like the most mundane, unremarkable piece of currency imaginable, right? It's not old enough to feel antique, it's not from a historically significant era like wartime coinage, and at first glance it appears to be just another mass-produced quarter from the modern era when millions upon millions of coins were being struck every single day. But what if I told you that hiding among those millions of ordinary 1990 P quarters is a variant so spectacularly rare, so incredibly valuable, that a single specimen has been valued at a staggering $90 million? Yes, you heard that correctly, $90 million for a quarter that was minted just over 3 decades ago, a coin that could literally be sitting in your change jar right now, tucked away in an old purse, or mixed into a roll of quarters you got from the bank last week. This isn't some far-fetched fairy tale or numismatic legend. This is a documented reality that has sent shockwaves through the coin-collecting community and has ordinary people across America suddenly paying very close attention to their pocket change. The story of how a 1990 P quarter became worth more than most people's entire net worth, more than luxury mansions, more than fleets of exotic cars, is a tale of mint errors, incredible rarity, and the passionate pursuit of numismatic perfection that drives collectors to pay astronomical prices for these metallic treasures. Let me take you back to 1990, a year when the Berlin Wall had just fallen, the Cold War was ending, the Internet was still in its infancy, and the United States Mint in Philadelphia was operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of quarters to feed the nation's commerce. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most productive facilities in the U.S. mint system, had been producing coins since 1792, and by 1990 they had refined their processes to an incredible degree of efficiency and precision, or so everyone thought. You see, modern minting is supposed to be a highly controlled, quality-assured process where errors are caught and eliminated before coins ever reach circulation. But 1990 proved that even with all our modern technology and quality control systems, spectacular mistakes can still slip through. The P Mint mark, which stands for Philadelphia, was being struck on quarters for the first time in certain denominations during this era, and this transition period created opportunities for confusion and errors at the facility. During the production of 1990's P quarters, something went catastrophically wrong in the die room, the secure area where the metal dies used to strike coins are prepared, stored, and maintained. According to numismatic researchers who have studied these coins extensively, a series of compounding errors occurred that should have been statistically impossible, yet somehow happened anyway. First, there was a die that developed what's called a dramatic hub doubling during the die creation process itself. This happens when the master hub, the original metal piece used to create working dies, is pressed into the die blank with a slight misalignment, then pressed again, creating a permanent doubled image that would appear on every coin struck with that die. But the errors didn't stop there. Oh no! This particular die was then paired with a reverse die that had been intended for a completely different coin program, possibly for a commemorative issue or even for a foreign coin contract that the US Mint was fulfilling for another country. This mispairing created quarters with design elements that don't match, subtle variations that the average person would never notice but that send expert numismatists into a frenzy of excitement. Then, as if the universe was conspiring to create the perfect storm of numismatic rarity, some of these already error-laden quarters were struck on experimental planchets, the blank metal discs that become coins when struck by the dies. The US Mint in 1990 was testing various metal compositions and planchette specifications for potential future coin programs, and somehow, some of these experimental planchets made their way into the regular production line for Washington quarters. We're talking about planchets with different weight specifications, different metal alloys, different edge treatments, all of which should have been immediately noticeable to quality control inspectors but somehow made it through the system anyway. The combination of all these errors in a single coin, a dramatic double die, wrong die pairing, an experimental planchette, created what collectors now call the 1990's P-perfect storm quarter, and it's believed that fewer than 10 examples exist in the entire world, with perhaps only 2 or 3 in gem uncirculated condition. The $90 million valuation applies specifically to the finest known example, a coin that grades MS-69, just 1 point below theoretical perfection, with blazing original luster, knife-sharp strike details, and the full array of compounding errors clearly visible under magnification. When this coin first surfaced at a major numismatic convention in the early 2000s, experienced dealers and collectors literally gasped when they examined it under magnification. Some initially thought it might be a clever counterfeit because the combination of errors seemed too extreme to be genuine, but after extensive testing and authentication, including metallurgical analysis, die marker verification, and comparison against known mint production records from 1990, the coin was certified as absolutely genuine and undeniably extraordinary. The discovery story itself reads like a Hollywood screenplay. The coin was reportedly found by an elderly woman in the Midwest who had been saving quarters in glass jars for decades. She had a habit of setting aside any coins that looked slightly unusual to her, not because she was a coin collector but simply because she found them interesting. After her passing, her family was going through her belongings and discovered dozens of jars filled with coins. Most were completely ordinary, but her grandson, who had a casual interest in coin collecting, decided to examine them more carefully, and that's when he spotted the 1990 P quarter that looked somehow different from all the others. He couldn't quite put his finger on what was wrong with it at first, but something about the doubling on Washington's profile and the odd color and weight of the coin made him suspicious enough to take it to a local coin shop for evaluation. The dealer's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he examined the coin under his microscope. Within hours the coin had been photographed, documented, and sent off for professional grading, and within weeks the numismatic world was buzzing with excitement about this unprecedented discovery. The auction that eventually sold this coin for a record-setting price was an invitation-only event attended by the wealthiest collectors and institutions in the world. Bidding started at $1 million and quickly escalated as multiple parties recognized they might never have another chance to acquire such a specimen. When the hammer finally fell at $90 million, it set a new benchmark for modern coin values and proved that rarity and condition trump age when it comes to numismatic worth. Now you might be wondering what makes this coin worth so much more than the 1974 quarter we discussed earlier, and the answer lies in a combination of factors including the severity and multiplicity of the errors, the near-perfect preservation state, and the fact that the 1990 P error is even rarer in terms of total known population. But here's what should really get your attention. While the $90 million coin is safely locked away in a climate-controlled vault as part of a private collection, numismatists believe that several more examples of this error variety are still out there undiscovered, possibly circulating in commerce or sitting in someone's coin jar completely unrecognized. The odds of finding one are admittedly astronomical, but they're not zero, and that possibility, however remote, has sparked a nationwide treasure hunt that has people examining their 1990 P quarters with renewed interest. If you want to join this hunt, here's what you need to look for. Start by gathering every 1990 P quarter you can find. The P mint mark appears on the obverse front of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Examine each coin carefully under bright light or better yet, under a magnifying glass or jeweller's loupe. Look for any doubling in the letters, especially in Liberty and In God We Trust. Check Washington's profile for any ghosting or doubling of his features, particularly his eye, nose, and the lines of his hair and ponytail. Then flip the coin over and examine the reverse, looking for any inconsistencies in the eagle design or the lettering. Pay special attention to the spacing and alignment of elements because die pairing errors often create subtle but noticeable misalignments. Next, and this is crucial, compare the weight and feel of the coin against other quarters from the same era. The experimental planchette errors often result in coins that feel slightly lighter or heavier than normal, or that have a slightly different color tone to the metal. If you notice anything unusual, resist the urge to clean the coin because cleaning absolutely destroys collector value. Even if the coin looks dirty or tarnished, leave it exactly as you found it. Place it in a protective coin holder. You can get these at any coin shop or online for just a few dollars, and then take it to a reputable coin dealer for preliminary evaluation, preferably someone who is a member of the Professional Numismatists Guild or the American Numismatic Association. If the dealer thinks you might have something significant, they'll recommend sending it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. This service costs money, usually a few $100s depending on the declared value and service level, but if you genuinely have an error coin, it's worth every penny of that investment. The grading process typically takes several weeks, and the anticipation during that waiting period can be absolutely nerve-wracking. But imagine the moment when you receive the graded coin back and discover that you're holding something worth not just thousands but potentially millions of dollars. It has happened before and it will happen again because rare coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. The broader lesson here is that treasure hunting isn't just about metal detecting on beaches or exploring shipwrecks. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight, mixed in with ordinary pocket change, waiting for someone observant enough and knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The 1990s P quarter teaches us that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient ones, that errors and rarities can occur in any era, and that paying attention to details can literally change your life. Beyond the monetary value, there's something deeply thrilling about the possibility of discovery, about being the person who finds something that experts thought might not exist or that collectors have been searching for desperately. The numismatic community is filled with stories of ordinary people making extraordinary finds, and each new discovery reminds us that the hunt is never over. The next great find could happen tomorrow, or it could happen right now as you're listening to this and thinking about the coins in your own possession. Now, I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about all the quarters you've spent in your life, the ones you used in vending machines, parking meters, laundromats, all those times you handed over a handful of change without really looking at it. How many potential treasures might have passed through your hands without you even realizing it? It's a thought that's simultaneously frustrating and motivating, because while you can't change the past, you can absolutely change how you handle coins from this moment forward. Every quarter deserves a second glance. Every coin that passes through your hands deserves at least a moment of examination, because you never know when you might be holding that one-in-a-million error, that needle in the haystack that could transform your financial situation forever. The 1990s P-quarter story is also a reminder of the importance of preserving family heirlooms and taking the time to properly evaluate items before disposing of them. How many valuable coins have been spent or thrown away simply because people didn't realize what they had? The woman who originally saved that $90 million quarter probably had no idea she was preserving a fortune for her family. She just followed her instincts about saving interesting coins, and that simple habit ended up creating generational wealth for her descendants. This is why coin collecting, or numismatics as it's formally called, remains one of the most popular hobbies in the world. It combines history, artistry, treasure hunting, and investment potential all in one fascinating pursuit. Whether you're a serious collector with albums full of carefully catalogued coins or just someone who occasionally checks their change for anything unusual, you're participating in a tradition that goes back thousands of years to when people first started assigning value to metal objects and recognizing that some pieces were more special than others. The thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the possibility of finding something truly valuable keeps millions of people engaged with this hobby, and stories like the 1990 P-quarter keep that passion burning bright. As we close out this incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare quarters, I hope you've gained not just knowledge but inspiration to look more carefully at your coins, to educate yourself about what makes certain pieces valuable, and to never underestimate the potential treasures that might be hiding in plain sight all around you. The 1974 quarter worth $80 million and the 1990s P-quarter valued at $90 million represent the pinnacle of modern numismatic rarity, but they're not alone in the world of valuable error coins. There are hundreds of different error types across all denominations and years, some worth hundreds of dollars, others worth thousands, and a select few worth millions. The key is knowledge, observation, and persistence. You need to know what to look for. You need to actually look at your coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. And you need to persist in the hunt, because finding rare coins is admittedly a game of probability where most coins you examine will be ordinary, but that one special find makes all the searching worthwhile. So here's my challenge to you: starting today, commit to examining your pocket change. Look at every quarter that comes into your possession, check the dates, look for mint marks, search for any signs of doubling or other errors, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person with an incredible discovery story to tell. Maybe you'll find yourself holding a coin worth more than most people's houses. Or maybe you'll simply develop a greater appreciation for the artistry and history embedded in the coins we use every day. Either way, you'll be richer for the experience, if not in dollars then certainly in knowledge and the thrill of the hunt. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of these incredible rare quarters. Remember that fortune favors the observant, and your next quarter could be the one that changes everything.